What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In the last video we got our Evo finally back home and in the garage. Today what I want to do is get this thing backed out, give it a nice pressure washing. That way we can start working on a fresh plate. I don't have to keep dusting it off. It's still got a lot of like compound dust and all that stuff on it from sanding, buffing, whatever we did with the car after paint. So let's get all that cleaned off, and then I want to maybe get the taillights on, rear bumper, see how the paint matches with the rear bumper, and then we can ultimately start doing stuff in the engine bay. We got to get the intake manifold on the engine, get that thing 100% ready to drop in, and then yeah, we'll be good to go. So let's get to work. Hopefully this Evo comes out nice and easy. As always, we still need wheel bearings on the car, so this thing is a pain in the butt to push, but let's make it happen. Did manage to get the car outside. Also managed to scratch the engine bay up a little bit. Nothing a little black Sharpie can't fix. Oh well. So now let's break out the pressure washer and we can finally get this thing cleaned up. Get all this white dust off of here, and hopefully it'll be looking good as new. Well, just got it all pressure washed, and this thing looks so freaking good. I'm looking at it in the camera right now. It doesn't do it justice at all. It looks like a really orangey kind of color on here because it's so bright outside. If I turned it up, there we go. Now it's starting to be a little more true to its color, but yeah, no, it came out really good. And I'm super happy that after pressure washing it, there was no paint chipping off. So that's a plus. That means it was properly prepped before we sprayed, and that's what I was going for. So engine bay, same deal. Nothing really flaked off. So I am a happy camper. Now we need to get this car back in the garage so we can start working on it. We got to get this Evo pushed out so we have all the room to work. So hopefully I can get this back in myself. The wheel bearings do not help me out one bit, but we'll get it. Well, that took about an hour, but car's back in the garage, and I think it's a good time to test out the rear bumper. So I have the rear bumper chilling right here. This thing still needs a buff, or yes, the body shop are actually thinking of just re-clearing it, because the day we did clear this, it was really cold. The clear coat has some pretty gnarly runs in it, so it might be easier to sand it down and re-clear it, and hopefully not have to buff it, because bumpers are a pain in the butt. But let's get it on here, see if the color at least lines up. I know the clear on this is a little foggy, so I don't know, we'll see. I do have new clips from Mitsubishi for this area right here. Have them over here on the steps. So let's get these bad boys slapped on, and then we can get the bumper mocked up. Well, that was a little tough. The clips are really tight, but rear bumper is now on, and the gap is like freaking perfect. Down here, this is gonna get tucked in once I unroll the fender a little bit so I can actually get this tucked. But yeah, overall, I'd say she fits pretty freaking good. I mean, to be expected, it is a Ferris kit. Now, I'm hoping that I can just buff this out on the car. The clear on the bumper actually isn't too bad on the rear compared to the front. The only thing I have to figure out is how to wire these little marker lights in. I do have them ran to here, and I know he had some sort of resistor ran down. I don't know. Yeah, this black wire is a little resistor. I think that goes to one of the wires on there. I'm not sure. I might honestly not even run them. Haven't really decided. But yeah, all we gotta do is buff this thing out now, and she should be good. I'm super relieved though. The color match is pretty spot on. I know bumpers are typically a little bit darker, and it is maybe a little bit, but I can't really complain. Looks pretty good from here. So now we can get the taillights in, which I'm not sure if I cut up any wires when we took these out, but at least we can get them mocked up and in here. I'm probably gonna re-clear the lenses on everything, especially these guys. They're pretty chewed up, but yeah, happy with fitment. Looks good to me. And this camera does not do this paint job of justice, I swear.
Crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare, 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. You close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me.
Well, gosh dang, just got the taillights on, and to match with the rear bumper and the wing, to see the rear end of this car finally put back together, looks so freaking good. So glad that the paint matches on the bumper to the trunk to the wing. Yeah, super happy with that. So like I was saying, rear bumper still definitely needs a sand and a buff, but the trunk looks good. The wing looks pretty good, also needs sand and a buff. But just to see the colors match, because I was looking at the bumpers in the house and I was like, they are definitely way darker. And you can see how flat the bumper is compared to the trunk, which is nice and glossy. So yeah, that'll shape up once we kind of sand and buff that out, get the clear really popping. But for now, yeah, that is so sick to finally see. Once we get some wheels on this, it'll all come together, I promise. Hell yeah. Moving on from the car stuff a little bit, we have some engine work to do to get this thing 100% prepped before we drop it into our freshly painted engine bay. Now, when I was building another 4B for the car out there, I realized that the rod bolts are supposed to be torqued to 90 foot or 65-ish foot-pounds, 65, 70, somewhere around there. And I've been torquing all these H-Toughs to 90. And I actually ended up breaking a bolt right here, actually. I broke this ARP2000 when I was torquing the rod caps for that car, and that's where I realized that I had it all wrong. So I'm gonna pull the paint on this, get these retorqued where they should be, just to be safe. Now, funny thing is, in the hatch outside, I have the same rods, and I also torqued them to 90, and I haven't had an issue. In fact, that thing's been doing outstanding. So I think spec was like 55 to 65. I'm gonna torque these to 70. And you know, we'll run with it. I'm kind of torque my stuff a little bit tighter, and I've never really had an issue, especially with head studs on Subarus. I torque them pretty tight on the 1/2-inch head studs, and guess I've been doing the same thing with rods unintentionally. So let's get this engine turned over. We'll pull the pan off, hopefully for the last time, get these rod caps retorqued to somewhere around proper torque spec, get the pan back on, and then we can clean up the intake manifold, get all our brackets put on. I gotta find all the bolts for those because who knows where the previous owner put them. But we'll get this thing pretty much complete. I need to powder coat the valve cover before we slap that on. That's why it doesn't have one on it at the moment. But other than that, this thing will be pretty much ready. This crank is killing me. If you guys see that, all that surface rust, we need to get oil in this car ASAP, because if that continues to spread, that can be pretty freaking bad. So once we pull this pan off, I'll coat everything again with what we had on it. But yeah, I don't know. That crank was rusting out of the box, brand new, and now it's just trying to spread to everything in there. So curious to see what it looks like under here. I'm kind of glad we're pulling this off now, just so we can clean that up. Obviously, once we get oil in there and it runs through, hopefully that won't happen. I don't think it will, but yeah, as it sits, before it's running, it's just sitting there creating all this surface rust. And I don't like it. Good news, the crank is not super rusty in there, either is the rods or anything in the engine itself. So I think my little bit of ATF worked wonders. So now we can just go ahead, spin this around, retorque all of our rod bolts. We might have to, all right, may have to pull our oil pump off to get this one here, but that should be okay. I don't see any reason it wouldn't be. We'll just pull off this little wheel, and we should be able to pull this off. Hopefully we'll be able to get this back on without having to pull our timing cover and all that. That's the hope anyways. Let's see what we can do. Couple minutes later, everything's torqued down. Rod caps are to 65 foot-pounds, which is the max on spec. And then I did go ahead and retorque the oil pump and got our little chain back on. And we are good to go. So now I just got to clean up all the RTV on the gasket surfaces, reseal that, and we should be dialed. I'm going to get the vacuum too and just make sure everything is cleaned out, all these little areas, so we have no loose RTV in our fresh engine. little change of plans. Instead of getting the rest of this engine back together right now, we got to go ahead and rip off all of the brake calipers because we're going to get these and the valve cover powder coated, and the powder is ordered, so we got to get that up to the guy that's going to be doing that. So let's get those torn off, all disassembled, and then we can line everything up here on the table. Alright, made some progress off camera, just trying to figure out how to tear these apart. But I got to this rear caliper, and there's supposed to be 2 bleeders on it. You have one on this side, as you can see right there, and one on this side. Problem is, previous owner must have broke this off inside the caliper and never did anything about it. So we gotta either drill that out or replace the caliper. But we'll probably try to drill it out, and then if we can save the threads, we will, but more than likely we're gonna have to retap that and try to find a different size bleeder screw to fit in there. That's just more problematic the more we dig into this car, but whatever. Well, it's just one thing after another tonight. Somehow something happened in the past 10 minutes. Tripod got some brake fluid on it, and now it's broken. So that's like my 4th $100 tripod. So yeah, I don't know. And it sprayed all over the car, which is freshly painted, so I'm worried it's gonna eat into the paint. It's been a night. I don't know how I'm gonna get that out. I might just buy all 4 new calipers, honestly. I'm tired of this freaking car. Yeah, I don't know. A few days later now, and we're back in the garage. Let me show you guys what I got. So because this caliper here had that broken off bleed nipple, I had no choice really but to order some new calipers. I was just gonna get the 1, but I ended up getting 2 for the price of 1. That's because a guy on Instagram, I'll have his @ link below. A guy sells Evo parts. I think his @ is literally Evo parts with a 4 in there somewhere. But yeah, we ended up getting both sides for the rear, and I'm kind of glad I did now because you can see how clean everything is. These are gonna clean up nice compared to all the rust and stuff on our existing calipers. So we can pull some parts from these as we need to and, you know, make them nice. So now we just got to get these all torn apart. They are complete calipers. The only issues with these are pretty much the paint or the powder coat that's on it now. The clear is coming off, so yeah, these are definitely painted, I would assume. Clear's coming off, but it doesn't matter because these are going to get stripped, sandblasted, and powder coated anyways. So yeah, let's go ahead, get these things torn apart. We still have this front one to tear apart as well. Once I figured out how these things come apart, they're honestly not that bad. So let's get to work, baby. Oh. Holy smokes, boys. I waited a day, went and got a torch, and then drilled her out as big as I could, got the biggest easy out in there, hooked it to our big ol' impact, and look at that. Not sure, let me see if I can get this thing to focus. She's coming out. Wow, that was my last chance because the first time I hooked the impact to it, it just pulled it right out. So I tapped it back in there, gave her one big hoorah on the big impact because the little one wasn't doing it, and it came out. So let's get that pulled out. Luckily I have an extra caliper. We can just steal a bleed nipple from that. But yeah, super relieving. That was a lot of extra crap, and I didn't really feel like buying another caliper, but we're good to go, baby. Those bolts in the calipers get pretty tight, so what I did, because I don't have anyone here to really help me out, I just took the vise, stuck a 2x4 in here, put some rags around it, and then I can just sit the caliper over the top of this, and it's nice and tight. So it holds the caliper still, and I'm able to break those loose with the breaker bar. So now with these all loose, we'll pull them out, split the caliper in half, and then we can pull our pistons and seals out. I do already have these two pistons out. We just gotta work on these. What I'm thinking of doing, instead of just sticking a screwdriver in there and prying, because I did kind of damage one of the other ones, I'm just gonna stick one of these bleeders in this side as well, close it down tight, and that way that's the only way air can get in. And I'm hoping that we're able to just blow these out, and hopefully they don't go flying into oblivion. We'll see what happens. Okay, all the calipers are stripped down now, all the seals, pistons, everything is out of them, and they are ready to go to the powder coat shop, get these things stripped down, sandblasted, and powder coated. I do have all the pistons here all cleaned up as well, so once we get these back, we should be able to assemble them back together with some new seals, refresh them, and get them slapped back on the car. I gotta run inside and knock out some homework real quick, and then once I'm done with that, we'll come back out and start assembling the rest of this 4B, get it ready to drop into the fresh engine bay. Okay, we're back in the garage, and I took the last few hours to try to get everything cleaned up to put on this engine. The intake manifold, we got the water pump assembly, the pulleys, the little brackets, the motor mount, pretty much everything that we need to set on this thing. So what I wanna do first is just get all the little stuff on. I think we got like a little oil sensor, we got knock sensor, cam sensors, crank sensors, the oil solenoids, that kind of stuff. We'll get all those on the block, and then we can start putting on the bigger stuff like our water pump, intake manifold, all that stuff. Also, the manifold was completely disassembled when I got it, so I've been trying to piece that back together, figure out how things go. It looks like the evap is no longer on this car, so everything's just plugged off. The throttle body was disconnected, but I did slap a new gasket in there, get the throttle body back on. And yeah, just trying to figure out how it all goes back together, because like you guys know, I bought this car completely torn apart, and I've never really built one of these from scratch before, so you know, figuring it out as we go. So here's the manifold. It was completely covered in grime, oil, whatever, so I got it cleaned up, pressure washed the best I could, and obviously dried it all off. We got these little plugs on here. I'm not really sure. These are definitely evap. Not exactly sure what this one went to, but all of our connectors are in and throttle body's on. It's a little crusty, but she'll do the trick. Seems like it works just fine, so I'm not worried there. We got our little oil solenoids here. I still got to get those cleaned up. And then it looks like we got knock sensor, crank sensor, cam sensors. This I think is like an oil pressure sensor or something along those lines. I know where it goes, so we'll slap it in there. We got some drain plugs here. The thermostat, I think I'm just gonna order up a new thermostat. I did kind of space that, but while it's out, might as well replace it. This Y, I'm not really sure. I'm assuming this is for fuel, but I'm not exactly sure. Maybe this is like a fuel pressure sensor or something. Not exactly sure where that went. And then some brackets over here. I'm not exactly sure where that went, or this. This I know goes on the side of the block, and I only know that because I have another engine down here, and I've just been kind of referencing that. And then lastly, been going through all these bolts, trying to, you know, organize them because they're just literally everywhere. And then down here, I do have the factory fuel rail and the little regulator on here. Now, I believe it has 1050 injectors on it, some FICs. That's not gonna do the trick for the power we're looking to make, so I'm gonna probably order a new fuel system, and we'll probably do some like 2000 cc injectors. That should get us the power we're looking for. So that can all hold off for now, but we can definitely get the manifold and all that stuff over there on the block and finally make some progress. I'd like to get this thing maybe even in the car, because the fuel stuff we should be able to handle no problem once this is all in the car.
You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig any deeper now? 'Cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now. Too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out. 'Cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now.
Okay, we made some solid progress on this. Intake manifolds on, water pumps on, crank pulleys on. I know I'm probably gonna replace this with like a fluid dampener or something like that, but for now I just wanted to get it on there, and you know, that way if we do end up dropping it in the car, we're good to go. This pulley's on for the water pump, all our idlers are on, motor mounts on. Yeah, solid progress. If we come over to this side, we got the little oil pressure sensor or whatever that sensor is. We got the knock sensor in there. All of our other sensors, crank sensor, the cam sensors up top. We got our solenoids in. Yeah, so overall, just waiting on the valve cover to get done with powder coat. We're dropping that off with the calipers that we pulled apart earlier in the video. But other than that, yeah, can't really get the manifold and turbo in until it's in the car. I think it's easier that way. So really now it's just waiting game for the valve cover, and then we can get the clutch on, get the trans attached, and drop this in. So that's gonna do it for this video. I gotta go order a fuel system because that's the last thing I pretty much need before we can fire this thing once the engine's in it. So before I forget, I gotta get that, and I gotta get some wheel bearings on order because the front ones are definitely still bad and I keep forgetting to order them. So let's go get those on order. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up here. Made some solid progress today. I hope you guys enjoyed, but I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, peace out. See y'all later.